Okay, what's going on, guys? This is Rob, and as you guys know, we have the podcast here on Marvel Explained, but what we've done is we've changed things up. And so we have a discussion or a kind of debate of sorts where we talk about two characters, which one would win in a particular scenario that we lay out and that Dave chooses the characters for. That video, that debate, you can find on Benny's channel, Comic Storian, which there'll be a link here on the screen and in the description. And make sure you guys check that out because they're pretty fun.
We have a blast with them, but basically it's based upon our raw knowledge of the two superheroes that David picks, and we basically create a fan fiction on the spot. This week was Batman versus Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta say it uplifting like that.
You guys got to watch the video to find out what's going on. But it was a really fun video. It was really entertaining, and I think you guys are really going to like it. But in the podcast today,
the winner because you got to go watch the other video.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you guys who it was that came out on top. But anyway, in this video, in this podcast, we're going to be talking about the casting choices that Marvel has going on with regards to films. Or not just Marvel, but like Fox and characters that have been chosen. So we'll be talking about Ben Affleck as Batman. We'll be talking about Josh Brolin as Thanos and Tom Hardy. Or who was the other guy that they wanted for Doctor Strange? It was Tom Hardy and somebody else. Who was it?
I haven't seen nothing of Doctor Strange.
Oh,
but
okay.
I would like to, if you're up for it, and we can give a big spoiler warning in front of it. But did you read the supposed first 20 minutes of Avengers 2?
No, I didn't even know that was online.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
We'll go over that towards the end of the podcast, so you can
Yes.
turn this off if you don't want. Now, it's production script, so it could get all changed around, but this is what supposedly has been revealed.
Wow. Okay, so Ben Affleck. All right, so we got to talk about him. So my thoughts on Ben Affleck. Yeah, Batfleck. My thought on Ben Affleck. He is really good in some roles. Like in The Town, he was amazing. Like he was really
he
good.
was amazing in The Town, but
Yeah.
he was horrible in Daredevil.
He was terrible as Daredevil. But here's a question: was Ben Affleck bad in Daredevil because of the writing, or because he's just bad at playing superheroes?
Yeah, it was the writing and the production, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because if you pay real close attention to his acting is spot on.
Yeah.
It's just they didn't really make his character believable the way it was written.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree with you on that, but there's also a certain extent of if Ben Affleck had read the Daredevil books ahead of time and really known more about Daredevil. Now, I don't know about his history with Daredevil because honestly, I
Yeah.
hated the story and I wasn't a big fan of Ben Affleck at the time. But overall, I would like to think that he could have at least redeemed it to a certain extent if he had done more Daredevil research.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't know if you agree or disagree, Rob, but
Yeah.
while I will say the director gave him a poor direction, there is a certain amount that he could have come back and fixed that with.
Well, all right. So Daredevil's a really interesting character in Marvel Comics. Like one, he's really, really dark. Like Matt Murdock is a dark character in Marvel Comics. I mean, that's the whole basis behind him. Like whenever you read Daredevil comics, it's very similar to reading Spawn comics in the sense that the comics always take place down in the bottom of Hell's Kitchen. So it's like these really dark and seedy comics, and there's not very much like joy to them at all. I mean, there's really no comedic element to it. There is from time to time, especially when you're talking about his sidekick. I can't remember what his name is, but or I guess his assistant guy when he's Matt Murdock, the lawyer. But as far as him being the superhero, like it's dark, and even that continues when Black Panther takes over the role. You know, in the Man Without Fear, whatever that comic was, whatever that line was, when he takes over the role of Black Panther, it maintains the same element. Or as Daredevil, it maintains the same element. So I felt like the way the movie, like the way it looked in terms of it just being really dark, was accurate. I mean, that was really kind of how it was supposed to be. But the problem is that watching the movie felt like reading a Wolverine comic because there was so much inner monologue. And Daredevil doesn't have that much inner monologue. I mean, he has some to a degree, but it's not like where you're reading a Wolverine comic and Wolverine's constantly talking. It's like Rorschach from The Watchmen. You know, it's different, you know.
Well, Wolverine has to. He doesn't talk in person very much. It's all
He doesn't. He really doesn't. I mean, he's usually arguing with people or saying he's going to kill him. So,
You know, he was horrible in Daredevil, but then he was good in The Town, and he could be good in Batman. But here's the big debate that I have. See, Marvel, I think, did a great thing because they picked some big name actors, but they weren't too big. There's a line where an actor starts to stop being the role they're trying to cast into, and eventually you're watching that actor. A great example is, and I loved this movie, Edge of Tomorrow. I thought it was great. And I felt that, what's his name? Tom Cruise's character had a great arc in that movie. But at least until halfway through it, I was watching Tom Cruise. I wasn't watching the character.
yeah.
And it was halfway through it that I started kind of get a feeling. Actually, you know what? I'd like to say that he started off as a character and turned into Tom Cruise. Because Tom Cruise is always that, like, I always know the answer, can get out of the impossible kind of a character. And the character kind of fell into the way Tom Cruise typically acts out his characters.
Yeah.
He started out as this coward and became this character. And that's one of the greatest arcs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But once he started doing that again, I stopped seeing the character and I started seeing Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible.
Now, okay, that was gonna be my question. So are you talking about you saw Tom Cruise like I could see Tom Cruise like being this person, or I just saw like a different version of Tom Cruise?
It's okay. Tom Cruise is a great example, but what's another great example? I mean, there's certain actors that eventually you're just watching them. Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is always the same character. You're watching Liam Neeson. You're not watching the character he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
From Taken
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
I know. In Taken, he was some random ex-CIA guy, and then he was some guy in the woods fighting dogs with the same attitude, and then he was a marshal on a plane drinking with the same attitude. It's
Okay.
always Liam Neeson. You don't see him portray anything else.
Okay.
Pierce Brosnan's the same way. You always see Bond, regardless of what you want to see, because that's how he always acts. That like British guy who knows everything, worst British accent ever.
I'm so glad you said that, because have you seen the Thomas Crown Affair?
Yes, yeah, and it was just Bond.
Exactly.
Bond in his off hours.
Exactly. It's like a James Bond movie.
and that's that's what I'm worried about with Ben Affleck is now he was good in The Town and he can break out of his mold, but how often do you just see Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
You know, when he guest stars in Chasing Amy, and he was in, what was that crappy movie with him and Lopez? It was just Ben Affleck
God.
again. And then every one of the Jay and Silent Bob cameos, it was Ben Affleck again. You know, and it's always the same guy. He plays the same role, and that's what I'm worried about with Batman. That we're not going to be able to see past Ben Affleck.
Well,
we're just going to see Batman. We're just going to see Ben Affleck. We're not going to see Batman.
But here's the thing you have to ask too, though. Like, let's take Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. All right. Now, if you met Robert Downey Jr. today, or if you imagine Robert Downey Jr. 7 years ago, do you think he would be pretty much the exact same way that he is in Iron Man?
Yes, but Robert Downey Jr. is kind of in that same role, but he fit into a unique situation. I can picture Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark before the movie even started.
Exactly.
I know, and I know the comic book version was a lot duller and like they've more adapted it to be the Robert Downey Jr. version. But there was always those playboyish elements that Robert Downey Jr. is. That was the perfect casting ever. Okay, but let me ask you, Chris Evans. Could you see Chris Evans as Captain America?
No, but I do now.
Now you do. And
Yeah.
But I did from
they
the
picked
very
people
beginning of the
that were
movie.
pretty popular, had a following of a fan base, but they hadn't really become their characters yet. They hadn't become, we're just watching Chris Evans. So when he started being Captain America, you're like, I can totally see Captain America now.
I think the real reason that I think that Chris Evans was a good Captain America was because they changed his body type and they almost changed the shape of his face in the beginning.
Right.
Captain America.
Well, I think Chris Evans does a good Captain America because they picked someone who almost is your Boy Scout guy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like with the way he does his hair and everything, even when he was like the super jock in those other like the romantic comedies, he was still kind of that all-American guy, blonde hair, muscular guy. You know, Marvel did a really good job, and they didn't pick guys who already act like. Okay, let's say they took Tom Cruise and made Tom Cruise Captain America. You wouldn't see Captain America; you would see Tom Cruise.
Well, not only that, it would have just been a terrible choice to have Tom Cruise play Captain America.
Exactly. And that's almost what it seems like DC's doing. They're just going, how big can we get the actors to be?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get Ben Affleck. Okay, cool. You know, we're going to get Gio whatever. I don't even know her name, but apparently she's big in her little circle. You know, and it's like they're just trying to get the biggest. They got Jesse Eisenberg to be Lex Luthor.
I saw that.
What?
I saw that. The guy from Social Network. I mean, I saw
Just
that.
because you shave his head does not make him Lex Luthor. What the hell is that?
Well, that and I agree with you on that. I think Marvel made a decision in picking characters who best can play the role. But see, to me, like that's when it comes to Ben Affleck, we haven't seen a whole lot of superhero roles from Ben Affleck. I mean, we saw Daredevil, and that was really about it. But Ben Affleck has a great track record too. I mean, you look at Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting and The Town are the two best ones I can say he's done.
Yeah.
But everything around that, we get Ben Affleck. We don't get the characters. Now, he can act, and I'm hoping he brings that to Batman.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that's why I brought up Robert Downey Jr., because when you looked at Robert Downey Jr. like 7 years ago, even when he was going through all his personal issues, and you look at Robert Downey Jr. today, for the most part, they're relatively the same. Obviously, he's not going through the same kind of personal demons that he had before, so he's dealing with that differently. But the fact remains that you could, like 7 years ago, you could see Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man. Like now, you could definitely see Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man. To me, I could see Ben Affleck playing Batman, but it depends on how Batman is written.
Well, and it also depends on one key factor. How much of Ben Affleck's face they're going to show. If they put Ben Affleck on there and we just see Bruce Wayne in the beginning and maybe the ending, and we see nothing else but the Bat mask, then you could definitely it will help with the transition of it being Ben Affleck. But if we do like the original Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, where Judge Dredd is known for the helmet, but that whole movie he didn't wear it once.
Yeah,
I think it was I think the opening and that was it.
That was it.
If we go that route, then no, everyone's going to see Ben Affleck and they're not going to care.
But see, at the same time, though, you also got to consider this from like Fox's perspective. Like, and we had this discussion, I think, last time. You've got the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I think we can universally agree, hands down, are like the best Marvel
Fox
films are coming out of there.
Yeah, it's WB.
Or WB. But nonetheless, like you have the Marvel Cinematic Universe where we have like the best characters, some of the best movies coming out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, you got Captain America 2, which was not just a great action movie; it had great like political themes and all kinds of stuff. You know.
Well, the reason why the Marvel universe works so well is they make each individual movie as an individual movie.
Yeah, but it all ties
into a bigger
universe.
They don't try to do like this. Like the problem with Spider-Man 2 is it's nothing but basically teasers for every other movie.
Yeah.
But that's a debate in itself, all in itself, why Marvel's doing it right and no one else is.
Yeah, but you've got this, like, you've got these amazing movies that are coming out for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they say, yes, this movie stands on its own, but it's all going towards a bigger picture. Like, there's going to be this great big huge grand poobah event that's going to take place.
If you don't care about anything else and you're just going to go see an action movie, you can go watch Captain America 2 and be perfectly fine.
You could, but the problem is that when you have all these great movies coming out of Marvel, and then you've got Batman coming out of Fox or coming out of WB, then they have to do what they can to draw people in, because right now everybody's looking at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, they are. Like Christopher Nolan did a great thing for Batman up until The Dark Knight Rises, because I thought The Dark Knight Rises was okay, but it was no Dark Knight. So, you know, it was.
He took too many obscure elements and tried to ground them in reality. That's my opinion.
That's what I was going to say.
The first two movies, it worked with what he took. You know, okay, Scarecrow is just a psychiatrist with a mask who has the formula. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Why would he walk around in a full costume? If that's what he's doing. You know, Ray Charles is a businessman who's not going to just come out and walk around in a big flowing green cloak. Got that. That makes sense. Bane suddenly being a guy from halfway across the world who's been mutilated and the whole entire city just going down and no one caring. That movie just made no sense. It was
Okay. Now let's sidetrack for a second. Let's talk about that. So Bane, all right, and this, I guess, you know, we'll talk about Bane and Tom Hardy later on, but with Bane, I didn't think they did him justice. In the end, like, they just made him a henchman. But Bane he had a classical education. He discovered Batman's identity in like 6 months or something like that. Like, he figured out he was Bruce Wayne. I mean, like, no one else had been able to do that.
He's also Puerto Rican.
He was super intelligent. Nobody's ever really done Bane right.
Yeah.
No, every time he's been in a movie or TV show, he's never.
I mean, they did it better than it was before in George Clooney Batman.
Oh,
because that was just terrible. That was like a mentally retarded prisoner who's just like, oh, I'm gonna Hulk out and.
Basically,
the only time Bane's ever been done justice by DC is they did it. The right Bane was in Young Justice, and it was kind of.
Oh yeah.
The Young Justice Bane, I think, was probably the best portrayal of Bane. He was the right ethnicity, finally, because they always make him something else.
Yeah. Well,
you know, he had the proper background, he had the proper power set, everything. It was finally the right Bane.
Yeah, I was kind of glad. I was glad the way they did his character, not necessarily in the sense they made him kind of like, you know, a thug, more or less, like a hired thug, because that's really all he was for Talia al Ghul, was just a hired thug.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, but the fact that I like that they didn't have, like, tubes and stuff sticking out of him, and he was just like, I'm a really strong guy. Like, I like that element. And to me, like, the fight scene between him and Batman in the sewers is one of the greatest movie fight scenes that I've seen in a long time. Like, I love that scene.
But to continue the sidetracking here, that's not what makes Bane Bane.
I know.
Bane is, you know, he's on par with Batman, and what always makes, he's always that line, because Batman even takes the venom at some point.
Really?
It's that line of, I could be so much more powerful if I just take this one drug, and this is the path that'll take me down. I'll become this big evil guy. Because Bane always, like, okay, and the Forever Evil Arkham War thing. Bane helps everyone in Gotham out. He takes over Gotham. But he wants to rule it in a militaristic kind of nature. He doesn't want to just be Batman. And there's always that, with that much strength and that intelligence combined, that's where you're going to go. You just have too much. And when Batman took the Venom, he became a problem too. The Venom is what makes Bane Bane. By removing the Venom and just making him a really strong guy. First off, you get rid of the fact that he's so strong that he can lift everything and just destroy Batman with sheer strength. And secondly, you're now adding in you've removed one of the core factors of being Bane.
Yeah.
You know, and the tubes they've gotten rid of in the main thing. The tubes are not like all over the place. He just slices them. Bane's seen that as a weakness and retracted them all down. Huh. So I mean, that's not even a problem. You could have very easily reintroduced Venom and not bothered with that.
In that last movie, I did like the storylines that they picked and how they mixed them together. Like I like they took Nightfall and No Man's Land, both of which I read, so I understood what was going on a little bit better.
Right.
I don't know if you've read those, Benny.
I've read Nightfall. I didn't read No Man's Land.
Yeah, No Man's Land is long too. Like I haven't read all of it, but I've read 3 of the 4 volumes that came out.
Wow.
And I think they did a pretty good job making it realistic. But at the same time, I would have liked to see Gotham suffer like a tremendous earthquake or natural disaster instead of them being held hostage.
Yeah, the whole
because there would be some way, like
all the police,
the
US entire
government,
police force is walled into this one location. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. This no
police force would send every officer into one location.
Yeah, no way they would for any reason, but
especially in an area that has supervillains and superheroes. Oh, this seems like a great idea. Send everyone in. Anyway, we're way sidetracked.
We're so far sidetracked.
Happy Dark Knight Rises or whatever the last one was.
But yeah, so Ben Affleck playing Batman. I don't think it'd be the worst casting choice, but again, it depends on how he's written. I'm kind of like I'm with you on this one, Benny. If they reveal Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne maybe like 3 or 4 times, then we will get pure acting just because we won't see him, we won't see his facial mannerisms, we won't see any of that stuff. It'll just be him as Batman talking, and so he'll have to like really, really act. So it depends on how like all the writing and everything is done. It depends on the story. You know, I know it's supposed to be like Bruce Wayne versus Superman, I guess, or something like that, or Batman versus Superman. I'm not wildly familiar with what
somehow
the
Wonder
supposed
Woman and
to be.
Cyborg are involved. But
Yeah, I don't know, and that's. I'm not sure what direction they're going to take this. If at the end they're going to be allies or they meet for the first time, I don't know why you would make the movie where Batman and Superman first meet a versus movie as opposed to a cameo movie.
In their defense of that, every time that Batman and Superman first meet is always a fight.
Yeah, but
because Batman's always the no one knows who he is character. Superman's the random alien. They always meet early on in their lifespan of being superheroes. I mean, in Justice League Origins, they start fighting.
Yeah, but that's been done to death. Like everybody knows that.
Which is why I'm wondering why they're doing it.
Yeah, like everybody's done it a million times. Like just have a cameo. I mean, just have I'm not really sure what their role is, or just have somebody like where Clark Kent and Batman are talking to each other. I mean, it could be a slow introduction with a great story, but
you could put them both in the movie just fine. Yeah. Why are they gonna fight?
Yeah,
there's more than enough villains to have to come together for.
Well, what I'm gonna guess is that at this point, Bruce Wayne, like in The Dark Knight Returns, or
Rises.
No, the book by Frank Miller.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I'm gonna guess like in that storyline, Superman is gonna be working for the government, and pretty much comes to Gotham when Batman has been around for a while and has a reputation. And then somehow the government's going to pit Superman up against Batman to try to stop him from being a vigilante.
That'd be a flimsy plot.
I don't know. I mean, this is another discussion for another day when they start revealing stuff on Man of Steel. I've got information on Avengers 2, guys. Why are we speculating on Batman versus Superman?
Nobody cares about Batman versus Superman in the movies.
I care about that movie, and I'm the one who cares, but we have no info. Why are we speculating?
Because it's fun, man. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
But we're literally throwing shit at a wall right now.
Okay, so can we agree that...
Well, what you were saying about the Batman thing, you know, if they don't show us Ben Affleck, What I want to see, honestly, is like how they did in Spider-Man. We know it's Andrew Garfield, but he wore the freaking mask when he was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where every 5 minutes the mask was being removed.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes it was, oh look, it's Tobey Maguire. We got Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I will say is this: from the pictures that I've seen, just in Ben Affleck dressed as Batman, it actually looks pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, I know he looks really good, and you know what? I like that costume better than the Nolan Batman.
Yeah.
The Nolan Batman was just way too dark. I didn't like the way it cupped around. It didn't look like it fit right.
Yeah, it was a little. It left some to be desired, but I think that
he could turn his head though.
This is true. They weren't doing the Keith Batman.
I will say this though: Ben Affleck is a very capable actor, and if he's given the right role, he can be a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood when it comes to playing a character. Now, whether or not this will be one of those roles, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But I'm really, really hoping that they're bringing some quality actors to this film, because this could make or break, the whole DC movie franchise when it comes to this point. Because
it won't break it. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I don't know, man.
It could bottom through the floor. We'll still see the Justice League movie.
I mean, with two of the biggest superheroes that ever came out of DC, I don't know, man. I mean, if
arguably say they're two of the biggest superheroes ever, because you got
that's true. Okay.
Superman and Batman are recognizable around the world. Marvel really only has Spider-Man as a worldwide, I recognize him character.
And Captain America.
And
Iron Man.
Around the world to be recognized.
And the Incredible Hulk.
So he's everywhere.
Well,
and Professor Charles Xavier.
I definitely say they're not going to recognize a random guy.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, they are two of the most recognizable characters.
5 years of Superman and Batman. I mean,
yeah,
they've got Marvel came after DC. That's
yeah, they did. I mean, it was well. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, Timely Atlas, and then I mean, you're right, but. I will grant you and say that Superman and Batman are two of the biggest superhero creations ever in the history of comic books. I mean, I don't really know anybody that would say that's not true, but to me, I mean, you've got two of the biggest names ever who are going to be in a single film together, and if it turns out to be total trash, if it totally tanks and it's got 4% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think people are just going to cut ties and just go for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and just say the heck with it.
Actually, I think after Man of Steel, most people are already on board with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Man of Steel wasn't that bad. I don't understand why people don't like it.
But you got to look at the track record here. We had Green Lantern, that was horrendous.
That was bad.
That was horrible.
God.
Okay, we had the Nolan verse that has now been officially disassociated from everything, taken away.
They never should have done that.
We have Man of Steel, which, while being a good movie, is not the Superman everyone knows. It's fans like me that know the modern day Superman that recognize that. And Superman, he didn't do much of the destruction. It was more Zod and everything else. But the New 52 Superman, which is kind of what that was based around, no one knows. No one knows him. They all know him as the Boy Scout wearing his underwear on the outside Superman.
All right, so do you think, because you're the DC guy here, do you think that they jumped the gun because remember, the last version of Superman anybody knew was one Christopher Reeves and then Superman Returns, which was forever long. And then they just jumped to Superman killing a person. So this was, if I remember correctly, this was the first time we ever saw a movie where Superman killed a guy. Do you think they jumped way too far between the time when Superman would never kill a person and the version when he would? Do you think they should have filled some stuff in?
No, this works because, I mean, even in the New 52, they went that route with it. It was like New 52. Oh, look, now he'll do it if it's needed, and that's kind of the direction we went with it.
Okay. I was just kind of curious because I remember when Superman would never kill a guy. He's like, there's always a better way, to kill. I mean, even during
Batman's the one that does that one. So
see, before all these superpowered, overpowered villains, there always was a better way for him because he could always outstrength everybody.
Yeah.
It was always a cop out because they'd be like, "Oh, here's kryptonite, here's kryptonite, here's kryptonite. Oh, I'm strong anyways."
Yeah.
For the record, we are completely off of the actor choices over the movie.
We are. Okay, we need to get back on track. So can we agree that Ben Affleck could very well do great at this role, but it really just kind of boils down to how the story's written?
Yes. But I do want to say this. I'm hoping he picked it because he really thinks he can do a good Batman, and not because someone said, "Do you want to be Batman?" He went, "Fuck yeah!"
Oh God, I hope that's not the case because we could be looking at a return of George Clooney Batmans, and that would be
that's what I mean. Yeah,
that would be awful.
Who's going to turn down the role of Batman? And I'm really hoping he can bring something to the table, and not just Hey guys, I'm Batman.
Okay,
You
so
wish you were me.
so let's segue into Daredevil. All right, so let's segue into Vincent D'Onofrio. All right, because actually I meant to talk about this. Have you guys heard about that?
No, I haven't heard anything about that.
Okay, Vincent D'Onofrio has been cast to play the role of Kingpin in the Daredevil Netflix
I don't
TV
even know
series.
who he is.
Vincent
Yeah,
D'Onofrio?
let's cheat for a little bit.
Oh my God! Come on, guys. You guys don't hold on. You guys don't know who the
I'll
Kingpin
probably know him the moment I see him.
is? Kingpin was
Him?
yeah, he's the crime lord of New York City.
No, but this
Of
guy,
the East
I know
Coast, actually.
Kingpin is. I was looking
Oh,
for
okay.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio? Yeah, like he first I think came to fame with Full Metal Jacket when he went crazy.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, killed his. Yeah.
So I know
Anyway,
Kingpin. Really? You really think I don't know Kingpin?
well, I thought you said like I don't know who Kingpin is, and I was like, what? Everybody knows who Kingpin is.
He's going to have to put some weight
Oh
on.
man,
See, that's what I thought. All right, but here's the deal. Like we've seen some changes in terms of characters with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing a guy who doesn't weigh, 500 pounds and is like 500 pounds of solid muscle playing the role of King. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, to me, that's not a huge character change. To me, this like Vincent D'Onofrio is going to have to be ruthless because the Kingpin was ruthless. I mean, he was hardcore.
I hate to say it, but Michael Clark Duncan did a good Kingpin.
He was not bad.
Size-wise, and yeah.
He wasn't bad, but that ties into the terrible nature of the Daredevil movie. So God, that
Yeah.
movie
I'm
was
just
so
going to
bad.
forget that ever happened.
Yeah, well, let's just
It's like people
pretend
that
there
are
was
saying,
no.
"Oh, bring back
yeah,
Ryan Reynolds
anybody
as Splinter."
associated with that one.
Yeah, they're probably. But even then, Michael
Pushed
Duncan
off
Clunk
to the
died
side.
anyway.
They're
so
not getting in the Netflix series.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Now, here's the deal. If Michael Clark Duncan were alive, I'm pretty sure the Marvel Cinematic Universe would say, let's just bring this guy on.
That's true. I forgot he passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right. So, are you guys familiar with Kingpin at all? Like his history in Marvel Comics?
Vaguely. I know he's primarily a Daredevil bad guy, but he pops up in a lot of places.
I'm
fine
mainly
Kingpin
familiar
guys.
with
Yeah.
him from my childhood watching the Spider-Man animated series.
Yeah, he fights
Yeah.
against Spider-Man. Here and there.
He came out in Amazing Spider-Man number 50, I think, is when he appeared. It was like 1967 or something like
Yeah.
that. But he was originally a Spider-Man villain. Then eventually he becomes like a Daredevil villain. And he's really kind of like back and forth. I don't remember exactly where he stands right now in the current day. But
Well, I
he was.
think
The last
doesn't he
appearance-
just have fingers in all the crime that's
He does,
like
he
everywhere
does.
around the world? Like,
Well,
The last
it's,
appearance I saw him in was during Spectacular Spider-Man when Green
Okay.
Goblin was taking over. They
Okay.
blew up Kingpin's building and he fled.
okay. All right. So the whole history of Kingpin's really, really cool. It actually goes back to his childhood where he was like the fat kid, basically. And he was tormented all the time. So, like, from the time that he was younger, like, he began to learn how to manipulate people. And then he actually killed his first person when he was like 12 or something like that. Like, he's got a really dark history. And then from there, like, he just kind of rose up through the crime scene. And he actually became like he united several gangs and became like the number one or the second in command of like some crime lord, and then killed him and took over his gang, and then like united all these gangs of New York, and then just eventually rose to prominence and became like this kingpin of crime in New York City. But the thing about Kingpin is that he's not entirely brute strength. I mean, he is strong physically. He's formidable in terms of physical strength, but he's really, really smart, and he's very capable, and he will go to any length to achieve whatever it is that he wants to do. So if we're going to be seeing Kingpin in a Netflix TV series, I want to see dark. I want to see people dying. I want to see, Michael Corleone executing the heads of the five families and Godfather kind of stuff. Like, I want to see some serious, down in the wool
being
monster
on
kind of
Netflix, they
stuff.
could do that.
They can, but the question
Yeah.
is, will they? Because you got to be honest, with Captain America 2, this was the first like really dark Marvel Cinematic Universe film that we'd seen. So, up until that point, there was comedy. It was relatively lighthearted, but it was fun to watch. This movie, Captain America 2, was fun to watch, but it was dark. I mean, there were themes of government versus the people and political themes, and you had Bucky Barnes killing people. I mean, it was a dark movie, for the most part, at least as dark as they've gotten so far. And so I'm really hoping that with this movie they're going to get down, or with the Netflix series they're going to get down and much darker, because the Kingpin, in terms of his involvement with Daredevil, it was pretty sinister in a lot of ways.
based on the characters that they've got that they're gonna feature, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, like they're all like in the seedy underbelly, like on the streets.
Yeah.
They're not like, big time superheroes that go off and, fight
Well, I mean,
Apocalypse or Thanos or,
I mean, they were support characters. Like Luke Cage was one of the new Avengers that came out with Volume 1. Like he was one of the people that was recruited after the breakout storyline by Tony Stark, by Captain America. But you know,
And Iron Fist, they're trying to make big right now too.
yeah, well, because I think what they're trying to be honest, I think they're trying to tie into the whole African American theme in terms of Marvel Cinematic Universe characters, because we saw that with Nick Fury, and I think there was a lot of outcry from people when they said like we want Falcon, we want Luke Cage, because there were some characters that had some pretty prominent roles, and they were interesting and dynamic characters, but
Well, Falcon gets to come back with the next Captain America.
Yes.
He's already cast
and
on for that.
I'm very interested. Okay, to all the people on my channel who are watching this video, you guys have been screaming at me about what I said about Falcon and Captain America 2, how I didn't like his character and I felt like he was relegated to a sidekick. I apologize.
Don't apologize. Stand by your word, Rob.
My subs have been lambasting me over that. They've just been like, what are you talking about? Okay, the Falcon was good in Captain America 2. He was interesting. And I liked his character, so I guess we'll leave it at that. but yeah, I'm excited to see what Vincent D'Onofrio has to offer in terms of his role as Kingpin, because we've seen him play some pretty sadistic characters in the past, and so I'm really kind of hoping he can tap into that, Vincent D'Onofrio from Full Metal Jacket kind of character and bring that to the Kingpin in this Netflix TV series. I don't know.
Well, with his experiences on Law and Order, I mean, he's got like almost 20 years, or at least 10 or something. I don't know how long that's been going.
Yeah.
That show's been on forever.
Yeah.
But he's got like heavy into that whole law. And I mean, I always felt like he was kind of an evil character in that, the way he portrayed his. I know he was a good guy, but every time I saw him, I always felt like he was like a sleazy crime guy to begin with, backdoor stuff,
Yeah.
So I could totally see that. I mean, he's got to put weight on or muscle on, or they're gonna have to kind of like type out the whole thing with Kingpin and that.
Man,
aspect.
as much as they do with visual effects now.
Yeah.
Think about
Blow
what
up,
they
post
did with Chris Evans and Captain America. They made him really small. They could easily make somebody real big.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean,
Well, I agree with that, but at the same time, if you had seen the whole movie Chris Evans tiny, you wouldn't have believed it.
Oh no.
yeah, that's true.
No.
That's true. Some tiny little scrawny guy.
Blow his head up a little bit, put him in a fat suit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't really think that he needs to be super big. Like, as little as he actually fights, or at least it seems that he fights.
I mean, he doesn't. The first time he ever fought Daredevil. I mean, that came much later on in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He usually doesn't fight like directly with people that often. He's usually just organized, and that's what makes the Kingpin cool. He's an organized crime boss, and he's just cutthroat and brutal. So that's what makes him kind of interesting. I mean, Kingpin was never like a top tier villain. He was never like a major showrunner in Marvel Comics. He was just kind of like, he was one of those villains that was relegated to a comic that's isolated to a particular character. So he's like the, let's say like, I don't know, like the Green Goblin of Spider-Man comics. Like the Green Goblin is a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
I mean, you never really see the Green Goblin outside of Spider-Man comics. There might be team-ups where he might appear with other villains, but you don't have like a huge crossover event with the Green Goblin.
Right.
So, Kingpin is a lot of the same way.
But I don't know. I like to think that the size of the Kingpin is one of his defining factors.
It is.
Because they always make fun of, oh, you're fat, you're fat. It's all sheer muscle. And it always, every time that a superhero goes against him, it always seems to end up with them getting to his office and be like, all right, I'm going to take you down, Kingpin. You're too fat to fight me. And he's like, boom, just starts crushing everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always kind of like his last, okay, yep, you got all the way to the top. Because the Kingpin has henchmen. And most superheroes get through those henchmen pretty easily.
Yeah. I mean, the Kingpin's formidable. Like, when he and Daredevil fought for the first time, he punched Daredevil in the head once, and that was the end of the fight. So, yeah. I mean, he's a formidable fighter. I mean, he's got experience in boxing, and as much experience as a guy of his size can have in hand-to-hand combat. But nonetheless, I mean, he's to me, the defining attribute of Kingpin may not necessarily be his size. I mean, it is to a degree because he's a very powerful man and a huge man, but it's simply just the road and the methods he's willing to do in order to achieve what it is that he wants. I mean,
so do you think maybe? I mean, let's say like Vincent D'Onofrio is not going to put on like 300 pounds.
No,
you never know.
He's not going to get that big.
I don't know. I mean,
but
he might be a method
the thing is would you guys be okay if they gave him like some sort of technology to fight with?
Well, it
to
depends on
boost
if he
his
even
abilities?
fights. I mean, if he doesn't fight, if they simply say Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, it's just basically going to be like he's going to be like Michael Corleone from The Godfather. He's going to be an organizer.
Yeah.
He's going to be a leader. He's going to be a mob boss, but he's not going to be a fighter. I don't really have a problem with that.
No, if they properly regulated him,
Yeah.
if they handled it properly, the Kingpin could just never end up in a fight because normally he ends up in a fight as a last resort. Like Rob said, he doesn't always get into the fight. So it could very easily we go with every other route where he has 1,001 henchmen, backdoor exits, body doubles, and all kinds of crazy stuff that he likes to use. We don't actually have to have him fight. I'm just saying that the size of him is one of the things that I feel is one of his defining factors because it always boils down to if I do get in a fight with him, we can, it's going to be a fight. It's not just I caught him,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you don't throw like
there you are, whip.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
exactly.
if they put him just as like normal size Vincent D'Onofrio in that situation, I'm pretty sure Daredevil or Luke Cage or Iron Fist would beat him.
Yeah.
And in all likelihood, it looks like there's going to be a giant crossover event at the end, which is what I'm gonna guess is going to be the fight with the Kingpin. Like, what would they do aside from him gaining a lot of weight?
Yeah.
And looking big enough to take on all three of them, or give him some sort of technology to maybe let him stand a chance against all three of them.
I'm going to go ahead and say real quick, Rob.
Yeah.
If they do the technology route, we're just going to get a fan upcry like we got with the Rhino. It's just...
Yeah. A lot of, because Rhino, he was a big guy and wore a Rhino suit. Like, it wasn't a metal suit, it was a physical suit. So
I think if they would have featured him more and, kind of explained a little more why he's in that suit, it would have been okay. But the fact that he wasn't featured really all that much,
well,
kind of.
I don't think the mech Rhino would have been okay no matter how they explained it because every version of Rhino, like Rob said, is a guy in a suit, and the only deviant they've made from that path has been an Ultimate Spider-Man where it was like a mutagen, but he was still a big guy in what appeared to be a Rhino suit.
Well, I think there is a Rhino that does appear in like a suit, like a mechanical suit, but that wasn't the Rhino. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody cares about that Rhino. Everybody wants to see Rhino. Like, I can't remember what his name is, but the original Rhino running around. He's a great, big, huge, gigantic, super strong guy, and wears like a body suit, like a physical skin tight suit with a rhino horn on the head. Like everybody loves that guy. I mean, everybody wanted to see him, and then I imagine that Sony, including Rhino at the end of Spider-Man 2, the last 15 minutes or whenever it was that he was there, it's supposed to be like, hey, this is what we're going to do in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 3, but no one cared because by that point the movie was so convoluted and so screwed up, and it was like watching Spider-Man just unwillingly go through and just play the role of Spider-Man, or watching Andrew Garfield just go through and just kind of mechanically play the role of Spider-Man, that nobody really cared that he was going to be in the next movie.
I guess I just don't understand how in the slightly more realistic, cinematic universes that are being set up, how they would pull off a dude dressed in a giant rhino suit with a horn without making it mechanical in some way.
Well,
like, I know that Green Goblin kind of got genetically altered, but at the same time, it's not like on that level of extreme.
Well,
and it would look really corny. I think.
You'd like to think that, and that's what the movie studios used to think, which is why we got crap superhero movies. But when Marvel finally just said, "Look, we're just gonna make a superhero movie," I mean, anybody, if you wrote it down, anyone could easily say, back when Iron Man came out, oh, an Iron Man suit's gonna look retarded on movie screen. It has to be a cartoon or something. It's not gonna work.
Yeah,
it looked amazing. A guy running around with a shield. If you told me this 10 years ago, they're going to make a Captain America movie, and it's going to be a guy in the Captain America uniform with a shield running around, I'd be like, you're stupid. Have you seen that 1980s one? That's retarded.
Yeah. And now, like, they're two of the best films that Marvel's made so far. Like, some of the best comic book films out there. So.
Exactly. And how about Thor? If you told me a Norse god was going to have a movie, and he was going to be in the cape and the hair... Yeah, I would have been like, they gotta change that up. That's not gonna work.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to me, this is kind of ties on one of the things that we talked about last time. I think we were talking about movies and we were talking about subtle changes and stuff that people make. To me, they didn't really have to have the Rhino dressed up as like a guy wearing a rhino suit. For example, to go back to Iron Man 1, it's a little bit different, but Obadiah Stane he had his own company. Like, he was a separate guy. I mean, he was like a Justin Hammer kind of guy. Like, he was his own separate thing, and he wanted to like bankrupt Tony Stark and take over his stuff. And there was a point when he was relatively successful in kind of running Tony Stark out of there, but eventually he came back. But nonetheless, he wasn't like, a friend of the father and then raised Tony Stark and ran the business until Tony Stark turned 18. It wasn't like that. To me, I mean, I would have been just as happy as to see like a great big huge just like mammoth of a man with like a black bandana and like a tear on his cheek and say, I'm the Rhino. That would have been fine with me, because the Rhino was he was pure raw physical strength, as strong as a guy could be. And he would just pummel Spider-Man as best he could. But that was really about it, in terms of his powers.
I think you're going a little crazy with the Rhino thing, though, because I mean, you're both trying to find a way to not make him corny. The Rhino is corny. In the comics, he's corny.
He is.
In the shows, he's corny. He's a guy in a Rhino suit who has sheer strength and runs at Spider-Man. He has never been successful as a solo guy.
That's true.
Spider-Man has always jumped right over him and then webbed him up, and then he goes, oh. Paul Giamatti as the Rhino in itself was just a retarded casting choice in general. To get us back on casting options.
Yeah, that's
Paul
true.
Giamatti, the guy's like 50. He's known for like, playing dumpy guys. You're really gonna make him this gangster in a Rhino suit?
All right, hold on now.
5'4".
Let's not go talking bad about my home slice.
I like Paul Giamatti. I do. I even like that movie where he's doing the wine tasting. Okay. All right. So I do. I like the guy. But let me ask you this: would you rather see someone like Vin Diesel in a full Rhino suit running at Spider-Man, or Paul Giamatti riding in a mech? Both of them are corny. That mech did not look cool.
Vin Diesel. I would take Vin Diesel.
That's what I'm saying. Get someone that size.
Or The Rock.
Put him in the
Vin
suit.
Diesel or Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, The Rock or somebody. But I don't know. I mean, we were talking about Vincent D'Onofrio before, right? Yeah. Okay,
and then we transitioned over to the bad casting choices and how size needs to be transformed. We were kind of on topic with the Rhino.
Yeah. So to me, it's because of the fact that to me, Kingpin was basically a crime lord. I don't mind the fact that he's not going to be this great big huge colossal guy. Now, it could be that he just builds up and becomes big, or maybe he encounters some kind of drug that makes him huge, or maybe he just never gets big and he's just a really good physical fighter. I'm not really sure what they choose to do with him. But, to me, one of the biggest defining attributes of Kingpin was just how ruthless and bloodthirsty he was. And so that's what I'm really, really wanting to see in this Netflix series, is just some hardcore, bloodthirstiness coming from this guy, as opposed to like some kind of toned down Michael Duncan Clark kind of Kingpin, basically, where he talks and he taunts, and that's really about it. So
I agree with you on that one. If they can take every one of his attributes and make him this ruthless guy in charge of everything, he's just this twisted lord of the crime guy. Mm-hmm. I can forgive the lack of physical bruteness if they don't go with it.
Yeah. So, all right. So,
I mean, heck, Baron Zemos is inside of a computer right now. We got to forgive some stuff.
So casting for Doctor Strange.
Yes,
I don't know anything about this one. I'll say it right now. I don't the actor choices you were naming. I don't even know.
I disagree with you, Rob. I do not like this casting choice.
I love Tom Hardy.
I don't really know Doctor Strange all that well, so I'm probably gonna end up giving it to you. But I think he's too buff. I think he's too big for that part. Now, Tom Hardy, the guy who played Bane.
No, that's not gonna work. If you want a good casting choice, it should have been like the people. Have you seen The Prestige?
Yes.
The older magician guys, one of them.
Okay. The older magician guys. What are you talking about?
I think it was
in The Prestige. It was Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get him in here. Let's just
no. I do not want Wolverine playing
too.
Doctor Strange.
Christian Bale's the other one. What's the other movie? The one that had Edward Norton. They're two magicians at the same time.
The Illusionist.
Yeah. The Illusionist.
All right. Here's my deal when it comes to
That's perfect. Sorry, but I'm just saying.
You talking about Edward Norton?
Perfect. And since he's no longer the Hulk, let's make him Doctor Strange.
I don't think the reason that they didn't continue him as the Hulk was he wanted too much money.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what camp you talk to. Supposedly he wanted too much money, but then if you talk to them, there was a scheduling confliction. And for the record, Edward Norton hasn't been in any other movies, so that may have been it. It's not like he went off
he'd be pretty starved at this point.
Yeah. It's not like he's like
something to work on
that came out.
But
I'm more inclined to think that Edward Norton backed out due to scheduling issues and less about the money. If he needed money, we'd see him in about 5 other movies already.
Yeah, he's been in a ton of movies. I mean, he's got a huge track. I mean, American History X, and he's got all kinds of movies to his name, you know. So, but here's the deal. To me, like, Tom Hardy isn't a naturally huge guy. Like the way that we saw him in Warrior, that's not his natural physical size. Like the way that we saw him in as Bane was not a natural physical size. There's actually an interview. Do what?
Has he actually lost weight before though? Like it just seems like he's been playing more massive parts now.
Yeah, he has. But there was a interview that he had done. I can't remember who it was with. It was some British guy. Maybe it was Stephen Fry. I don't know. But he had done an interview and he was talking about the character Warrior. And in the interview, like he's small. I mean, he's not scrawny or anything, but he's your average size for a guy of his age. He's not a great big huge guy. But to me, like Tom Hardy can play such amazing roles. As far as I'm concerned, with regards to Tom Hardy, like Warrior was one of the greatest movies I'd ever seen him play in. That movie was so fantastic because the depth of character that he had was amazing. He had like all these personal demons that he was struggling with. So the guy can act.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the guy can act. And then of course he was awesome in Inception, and he was as far as the writing goes, he was good as Bane. So, to me, I think he's a great casting choice for Doctor Strange. Now, my personal opinion, my personal number one guy is Aidan Gillen, the guy that plays Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Like that's my choice for Doctor Strange. But
I just think I think Tom Hardy, just from looking at this and basing entirely off of you just now telling me that Tom Hardy is going to be Doctor Strange, he looks too young, honestly. Doctor Strange is like one of the oldest guys in the Marvel universe.
He is an older guy. He's well into his 30s or 40s, I think.
Right. So. I would go 40, 50 with him. He's got the white hair.
He's got the streaks of gray hair.
And I think that's just an appearance. I think he's older than that too.
He was a very experienced surgeon.
Yeah.
So he had to have at least 20 years of surgery under his belt, I would think.
I mean, I don't remember how old he was when he met the Ancient One and became Doctor Strange, or began to learn magic and stuff. But let's say, this, for the most part, all these movies are taking place in modern era. So let's say like Civil War Doctor Strange. All right. By that point, he looks like he's well into his 40s, possibly even his 50s, maybe. But again, you're talking about a Sorcerer Supreme. The guy can make himself look any age. So, it really just kind of depends on what it is that he has going on. But
he's 90.
He's 90 years old, 200 years old. But to me, given the casting choices that they've made, they're obviously building on Tom Hardy, playing Bane, to kind of bring those DC fans over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe by having him play Doctor Strange. But, my personal choice would be Aidan Gillen. If I had to choose anybody in the world and say, you're going to play Doctor Strange, it would be him. Because he looks the part. He's around the same age. Yeah, he's around the same age. He's a great actor, as we've seen in Game of Thrones. Now, the biggest question is, can he really play anything outside of that guy? Because he's a manipulative guy in Game of Thrones. And if he were to be transitioned and play Doctor Strange, is he one of these characters that's been typecast now? Is he like the Mark Hamill of Game of Thrones? Is anybody going to look at him in anything other than Littlefinger from Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I don't know. I think Game of Thrones is very popular, but I think there's enough people that don't watch it.
It is an HBO show. It's why it hasn't taken over the top slot from like Walking Dead and stuff like that.
Yeah. Walking Dead is the number one show, I think, right now. But AMC comes with cable subscription. So I don't know. I mean,
so we agree. Tom Hardy's not the best choice. I think we all agree on Aidan Gillen. But we'll see how it goes.
But I'm not disappointed to see that Tom Hardy is being considered for the role of Doctor Strange. Like that, I'm not upset.
Is he being considered, or has he been cast?
He's being considered. He's one of the two people that they're really kind of gunning for. I can't remember who the other guy is, and that's why it's kind of bothering me. I don't remember what his name is. Hey, Benny,
because I know when you first told me like a few days ago that it was happening, I actually went on Google and tried to find where that came from, and I couldn't find it.
That he was being considered, or that he was cast?
That he was being considered or cast.
To my knowledge, it's well recognized information. I found it on Reddit Marvel, but to my knowledge, like it's well established that Tom Hardy is one of the top 2 people to be considered. Are you looking it up, Benny?
Yeah, I'm trying to see right now.
Yeah. But
while I'm looking that up, though, let me ask you guys the next question, then, because that's one thing you want to talk about. We also want to talk about Josh Brolin, right?
Yeah.
For Thanos.
Yeah.
But let me ask you on a quick note, because we don't have much on it. How do you feel about them changing directors on Ant-Man? And not just changing directors, the director leaving because of disputes with Marvel.
This lends credence to actually a few other arguments that people have made too, like Terrence Howard. Like, the word around the campfire, the rumor mill as I've heard it, is that Terrence Howard didn't know that he wasn't going to be in Iron Man 2 until he saw Don Cheadle playing Rhodes in Iron Man 2. That's how we found out. You know, that's what I've heard. I don't know if that's, I mean, there's, like you said with Edward Norton, and depending on who you talk to, there are some people say that he wanted too much money, and they said we're not going to give it to you. I mean, it depends on who you talk to. Some people say different things, but
the problem is rumor mills go crazy.
They do. They go absolutely
nuts.
Right. Yeah, they go absolutely nuts. So
yeah.
To me, I don't know, but the fact that there were disputes, I mean, we don't know what the disputes were for the most part. Like, we don't know really what all was going on, So it could just be that they had a difference of opinion on the creative aspect of how it is that we should see Ant-Man. It could be that... Do what?
And Marvel wants to go a certain direction.
Exactly.
Like, they have probably strict guidelines for what is supposed to be in that movie.
Yeah.
And if the director just didn't like them having that much control and wanted to do his own thing, but it was going to make the whole cinematic universe spin off, into a direction Marvel didn't want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel doesn't want to end up in the X-Men boat, where they're rebooting the whole thing because they let everyone go make their own movie. And
yeah, because they've come so far with all the moves they've done. It'd be a shame to have to go back and basically like reboot the last 5 or 6 years worth of movies that have been made so far.
Oh man, yeah.
They're going to do it eventually anyway. So
I'm sure they will, but hopefully it won't be anytime soon.
Didn't Iron Man come out in 2006, 2007?
I thought it was 2007. So so about 7 years or something like that.
Yeah. It's
I mean, from what I'm hearing, this guy had already written the Ant-Man script like 10 years ago. And he's been trying to get them to make this movie for like 10 years. And he's leaving because Marvel, and just like David said, I have a feeling Marvel has a idea of what they want to make it match. And if you wrote a script 10 years ago, that's not going to match. I can tell you. If you're trying to do a cinematic universe and this guy's got a preset, I want to do this Ant-Man movie, then no.
I mean, yeah, we don't. I mean, it could be that when he approached Marvel with this script, he was like, "I want Hank Pym to be the one that creates Ultron," and Marvel could have said, "Nope, Tony Stark is the forerunner. He's the front runner for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's going to be the one that creates Ultron." And they asked, "Well, I'm just not going to direct the movie then," and walked away. It could have just been something as simple as that.
I mean, he wanted to have the Avengers cameos, and he was like, "No, I'm making an Ant-Man movie."
Yeah, exactly.
The Ant-Man movie actually was never supposed to be Hank Pym.
It was supposed to be Stephen Lang. Is that who it was? Or whoever his name is?
I think it is. I think they're avoiding the whole super smart Ant-Man thing.
Like, they could even make a Hank Pym character for Avengers 2. Now, I'm not saying, because I know Benny's read the first 20 minutes of Avengers 2, but if they were to create a Hank Pym character and have them, partner with Tony Stark, partner with Mr. Fantastic or whatever, and make Ultron like they did in the comics... then they could still do that, because the Ant-Man in the movie is the jokester, like, thief who steals Hank Pym's technology.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there could be a whole... We don't really know where it's going, and this is more...
We really don't.
It's speculation.
And due to time constraints, and since we're kind of pulling at straws on the Ant-Man thing, I'd like to get to Josh Brolin, because we are at 52 minutes on the podcast, and the viewers have suggested between an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And if we're still going to talk about Avengers 2, and I have got all the comments pulled up so we can go through them also.
Yes, okay.
So
So
let's go to your Josh Brolin discussion. You, all week, have been like, we need to talk about Josh Brolin. We got to talk about Thanos.
I have been wanting to talk about Josh Brolin so much. All right, so.
He hit me, guys, just so you know, he hit me up at like 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Have you seen the new Josh Brolin news? And I'm like, no. He's like, we're going to talk about Thanos.
All right, so I'm really excited to see this. I love Josh Brolin as an actor. He's like No Country for Old Men is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. Like, I love that movie. It's such a great film. And now Josh Brolin doesn't necessarily have the greatest track record in terms of movies that he's made, because he's been in movies like Mimic, and he was the kid who was an asshole in The Goonies. So, I mean, he's been around for a while, but up until No Country for Old Men, like, I didn't really take him seriously. That movie came out, and then I took him seriously. And for the most part, do what?
I haven't seen that still.
You still haven't? Oh, dude, you need to watch it.
On my list. It's on my torrent. I mean, on my legally obtained videos list.
He did a decent job in W too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was a good movie, and like I expected to go into that movie like, all right, they're just gonna slay
That's what I
George
thought.
W. Bush.
That's what I thought.
And like by the end of it, like you generally felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
Like you like left that movie theater like, whoa.
Yeah. But
Because he was a good actor in that.
he was, man. He
pulled
was
that off.
But to me, like I am very excited to see this, and the whole reason for this is because Josh Brolin in No Country for Old Men portrayed himself as a very serious guy. Like he was a serious, no mess around, former Vietnam veteran kind of guy. So, or I guess a Vietnam veteran kind of guy. Yeah, he's exactly.
He would mess with him.
Exactly. So, like to me, he portrays great characters, and Thanos is a dynamic and serious and hardcore guy in Marvel Comics, and so I really couldn't think of anybody better to play the role than Josh Brolin. Initially, I thought they were going to CGI it, and I actually saw this. I saw this link on Facebook. It turned out to be a joke where they said they cast Arnold Schwarzenegger to play the role of Thanos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh no, it finally happened. We're going to crap.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, exactly. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think it'll be a great casting. Now, my only question is this: why wasn't Thanos cast? Because we have a different guy that plays him in the Avengers mid-credit scene.
Mm-hmm. Well, that I think was just totally CGI.
He's just CG, and he turns the camera and grins.
Yeah, no, but apparently I looked it up. He's like the voice and the face is rendered over someone.
Well, but I mean that's not uncommon. Like I mean, you remember that show Heroes?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Until Zachary Quinto showed up and actually was playing the role of Sylar, he was played by 2 or 3 different guys, I think. So it's
Sylar?
Yeah, Sylar. It's not because I mean, up until Zachary Quinto popped up, like you never saw his face. You know, he was always just kind of he was in shadow and stuff, and it was just different people. But nonetheless, I mean that to me doesn't seem too awful. I'm glad they're doing this now and actually casting Thanos as a guy that's going to continue playing the role of Thanos until waiting until like after Guardians of the Galaxy and saying, oh my God, Thanos is popular. Let's just actually cast somebody to play him instead of having different people play his character. But you know, again, yeah, I'm not at all upset about this. This is, I think, probably one of the best casting choices they have made in terms of characters to play the role of Thanos, because I think that Josh Brolin is a stellar actor in a lot of different ways. So
it's better than DC's choices on characters.
Yeah,
it's like I said earlier, DC Marvel's picking guys that are pretty well known, but they're not enormous.
Yeah.
Well, they're not the types that are like absolutely 100% like, oh, we're gonna like typecast this person,
right?
Yeah.
Or oh, this person's really super popular right now.
Exactly. And I like that element. I like it when they come along and they say, we don't want great, big, huge guys to play roles. Because, I mean, think about the role of Nick Fury. Let's assume, for example, that they didn't have Samuel L. Jackson. They didn't sign the contract that Samuel L. Jackson made him sign. If he said you want to keep using the ultimate version of me, you have to let me play the movie. So let's say that never happened, and Marvel has a blank slate on who it is that could play the role of Nick Fury in Marvel Comics. You've got all kinds of different characters that could play that role, and you've got major actors that could have filled that role. Hell, you could have had Kevin Spacey play that role if they really wanted to. But there's a difference, and I'm with Benny on this. There's a difference between simply making a film and saying, let's get the biggest names we possibly can, and then just kind of forcing them in there, and the film feels forced, as opposed to just great casting choices.
Here's another thing is, like, normally, like, when you see these huge movies that all have, like, huge groups of, like, giant actors in the industry, on set, it seems like they don't have the same, like, mindset about being a part of a team. They all want to stand out in the movies, so they all try to overact, or they'll, like, create giant problems on the set. And like Marvel, what they do seems to work pretty well because they're all fairly big actors, like you said, but they're not huge, enormous actors that are all going to expect to be the star in the movie.
They're not walking in there expecting top billing from their role, or something like that.
But they're getting. But see, the difference is in the Marvel stuff, they're all getting their separate top billing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just supposed to come together. It's almost a part of the contract. Hey, you're going to get 3 movies where you're the star of it, Chris Evans. You just have to play ball with everyone else during the team up.
Yeah, but it's building up to that. I mean, you had Iron Man 1 with Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback film. You had Iron Man 2 where he was making millions of dollars. You had Iron Man 3. You had Captain America 1, Captain America 2, and then you had, of course, like Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, and Jeremy Renner. Okay, now all right. Let's sidetrack for a second. I want to talk to
Again?
you guys. Yeah, again, I want to talk to you guys real quick, and I guess we'll finish this up before we get into Avengers, the Avengers 2 portion. What do you guys think about Jeremy Renner playing Hawkeye?
I like it.
I've been thinking about
I
this.
think it's a good casting.
Yeah, okay.
You don't like it?
I'm
No,
not
I don't- I
familiar
think
with
it's-
Hawkeye, but
I think
My
he's decent.
only complaint is you put Hawkeye in, at least give him the mask, even if he's not going to wear it.
Yeah.
Just have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Just have it around. It's on his back. He throws it on. Oh, I can't see. Oh, that was stupid. Make some stupid little joke about it.
Yeah, something.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think he deserved more of a feature, and there was some postings about that, how Jeremy Renner didn't like that he was basically like a zombie like the entire length of Avengers. So I'm hoping they give him either his own feature film at some point, or
I don't know why we haven't gotten one. He's got his own comic. He's a popular
or just
character.
like or a Black Widow and Hawkeye movie.
That was the rumors going around a while ago, but now she's getting a movie on some totally different thing.
Yeah, I can't remember what that. But that's okay. That's what I was gonna say. Like, to me, I felt like Jeremy Renner plays a great Hawkeye, and I felt like he has just kind of been relegated. Like, they just kind of shuffled him to the back and just said, "You just stay back here and let us worry about what's going on up here." Like, I didn't like that. Like, Hawkeye has some big roles in Marvel Comics. Like, I don't know if you did you ever read Avengers Disassembled?
Me,
I haven't yet.
I'm sorry, Dave. Yeah, I know Benny said that he read it, but you haven't read it yet, Dave?
I haven't read it yet, but I have it on my list.
Okay, Hawkeye is pretty important in Avengers Disassembled. Like, there's a big moment with him in that comic. And in House of M, there's an equally big moment with him. So, Hawkeye played some pretty big roles. And, I mean, he was an Avenger, in the comics, and he was a big-time Avenger. He was one of the main Avengers, So, it's when you look at him, I mean, Hawkeye was part of West Coast Avengers, too, I think. But when you look at his character, like, he's had some great roles in Marvel Comics. And I felt like he just wasn't represented very well in the movies. They just kind of shuffled him to the back. And so I'm really hoping that in Avengers 2, and I think that he is, I'm hoping he gets a lot more screen time and he gets a lot more like up front, standing next to Tony Stark and Captain America and those guys instead of kind of standing, back and to the left, So I'm really kind of hoping they do more with his character. But I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that. If you guys, how you guys felt about Jeremy Renner and how they've done Hawkeye in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, and I think he needs a movie. I think he finally does need one.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so I'm sure the subscribers have been dying for this. I know I have.
Well, actually, because I don't want to spoil it for people who are trying to avoid it. Let's go through the comments real quick, and then instead of going over a character, we'll go over the script stuff that I found.
Okay.
Okay. So comments, because remember we asked for comments so we can respond to them. I'm going down the top comments down. We'll probably go like 5 or 6 of them down, depending on how much time we discuss each one. Ratchet says, "Great idea, guys. David just needs to be more vocal, but it's a great mix. Just want to ask, really far from each other." You already answered him. And then the follow-up states that the DC guy cuts off David quite a bit. So sorry, David. I hope you had more vocal moments this month.
I feel so betrayed by you guys.
For the record, guys,
I'm just like Jeremy Renner in Avengers.
You're our background character. Someone get him a damn blow. But on the plus side, you get Scarlett Johansson, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the record, you're not really going to upset me with these comments, and we are taking these as ways to fix the podcast, okay? There's quite a few comments in here about me cutting off Rob or cutting off David. And when we talk about comics, this is one of the few things that I get insanely excited about.
Yeah.
And so that's why I just get crazy and I just start talking. But we are taking your comments and trying to fix it. So I do apologize to people who have complained about that. One guy said that he had to pause the video 4 times because he couldn't stand me.
Well, I mean,
I don't think I'm that bad.
Well,
but.
I mean,
he said he had to pause the video 4 times because it was too long.
No,
for the most
he
part.
specifically said it was because he couldn't stand me, and then he didn't finish it because of me.
Okay,
I've been doing YouTube for like 2 years, guys. You're not gonna offend me, so.
Yeah, all right. Here's the deal, guys. Like all you guys, my subs, I love you guys, but these podcasts are fun. I mean, if you guys don't enjoy everybody on the podcast, then I guess just don't watch it. I mean, I don't mean to be a dick. I don't mean to be an asshole to you guys. I love you guys, but I mean, like, don't be a dick. So
we are trying to get a nice mix. Rob is the calm guy who knows the serious, more obscure stuff. I'm the insane guy who likes to watch things blow up, and that's what I like to watch. So I get a little crazy. And David's the guy that brings up legit points and goes into a lot more in-depth stuff because he hasn't been reading comics as long as me and Rob.
yeah.
So, but we are trying to get a nice mix. I do have to not cut. I agree. I do have to not cut off Rob or David and stuff like that. But you know, you can be nicer about it. You don't have to make me cry.
Yeah, man. Cut me off again, Benny, and watch what happens. I'll come through that camera. I swear to God.
You already stated we're 6 hours apart, so we're good.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
All right. So moving through that, and David has been a lot more vocal this episode. So see, he's just got to find his own. He's not used to doing this stuff like us. I don't know what this is about, but Darkside Hero says that somebody has a seriously nice ass, and then you laughed about it, Rob. So maybe you know what he's talking about.
I mean, I had no idea what he was talking about.
Did somebody show their ass off, or did we explain somebody's ass? Darkside Hero, please explain whose ass you're enjoying.
Yeah.
Apparently, Gregory Coulson gets stuck buying comic books every week. I'm hoping this week he won't get stuck buying comic books. We didn't talk about comic books.
We didn't. I ended up buying like a whole bunch of Deadpool comic books, I think you said.
Yeah, every week is like I'm on eBay as I listen, and now I spent $70 on eBay.
Yeah, dude, I love that guy's comments, man. That guy cracks me up.
So we really appreciate your comments, and we're really glad that we're helping you pick out the comic books, and we're hoping you're enjoying them. So at least you're not spending $70 on stuff you don't enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, apparently I'm wrong because I said I was hoping it wasn't gonna be Apocalypse, but Star Kid Potter is giving me the link here for Age of Apocalypse. Stating that it will be Age of Apocalypse, or at least partially about it. So last week we were saying I was hoping it wouldn't be. I didn't think they would do 2 Reset the World events.
Yeah.
I guess we're doing 2 Reset the World events.
Well,
I guess.
they've got 2 movie series now too, though, don't they?
No, the other one's gone. They're just doing First Class onward.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
I've also been corrected because Gumby Garcia says Phantom X killed Apocalypse, aka Kid Omega.
Yes, I saw that.
And for the record, I did a disclaimer and stated that I read that like 5 years ago and I could barely remember it. So I disclaimed that one. Immortal Beast says DC Comics sucks. I think Immortal Beast sucks. No. Double Hilo says loves the podcast, guys. Nearly 2-hour length is great because it allows us to ramble and go on our tangents, but still talk about the topics that we announced we're going to cover. Their question is hard to phrase. Maybe you guys can help me sort it out. When it comes to superhero teams, do you think characters in those teams are better served when they're established solo heroes who come together, aka the Avengers and Justice League, or do you like it when they're designed to be a team, like the X-Men?
Man, that's a good question. It depends on how the characters are done. The X-Men were great because they came together in a way where they were written, where they were like, our mutant powers manifested at puberty and we don't know what to do with them. And so Professor Xavier was like, I will teach you what you need to know and how to control them. That was the foundation for the X-Men. That's how the X-Men were formed, more or less. And because Xavier encountered the Shadow King in past life. So nonetheless, you know, it was, the team was designed to be that way. The Avengers, and especially like what we see with the new Avengers, when Tony Stark talks to Iron Man and wants to reform the Avengers after Avengers disassembled, he says, we need the Avengers back because there are some threats that we just have to have, that we have to have Avengers for because they're just so big that we, you know, no one person can defeat them on their own. Now, if he's talking about like the movies, I'm not really sure where to go with the movies. But
I mean, I agree with you. I kind of like depending how they're written. I like the giant team books because when you have heroes that are on their own, like Justice League, I was never a big Superman fan. At the New 52, I didn't like Superman because he was too much of a Boy Scout. I honestly felt like every time Superman got into a fight or whatever, it was always resolved with brute strength. His weakness was always kryptonite, and there was really nothing more to the character than I want Lois Lane. So I ignored all of his comic books. At the New 52 launch, I started reading the Justice League because they had Flash, Green Lantern, and Batman, 3 of my favorite DC heroes in it. And I got to know Superman through that, and he has his own books. So now I'm reading Superman books. So I think it's a great thing when they bring those teams together. But like Rob said, the X-Men was built to be that way.
Yeah.
That's a great book. And some of those characters, as great as they are, I don't see holding up on a book on their own.
Yeah, there are some characters.
There's only a few, and it's the few that they have a book on their own already.
Right. Yeah. You know, a great example of a fan favorite that I don't think could hold a whole book long term on his own. Iceman. Iceman is a great support character, great comedic character in the background. He could do a limited run, I could see that, but as like a permanent, like a Wolverine book, I don't see it going very far.
I mean, he's a super powerful character. He's an Omega level character, but yeah, I agree with you, man. I would not consistently buy Iceman comics.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't.
he's got too many weaknesses, it seems.
I mean,
Like, I know you say he's Omega level, but, I mean, fire.
Oh no! Don't put me against Pyro.
oh my God! Someone pushed me into a fireplace. I'm dead.
No,
Okay.
not like that.
Do you have anything more to add to the team?
Not that
You really haven't weighed in on your favorites. Do you like them when they're already established and put together, or do you like just team books?
I like both, really. I mean, like you said, I don't think there's some characters that really couldn't stand on their own. I think that there's some characters in the X-Men that could potentially stand on their own, but I like team books. I like crossover events. I like you said, the Avengers. You know, they handle things that are too big for, you know, just single, you know, heroes to handle on their own.
Mhm.
You know, like Fantastic Four. I don't think anyone on their own could face Galactus.
Yeah.
I don't
But
think
they
Richards could
banded
make-
together and they faced Galactus. So
Yeah.
I think there's a reason for him.
Okay. Gregory Clausen also corrects us in stating that Phantom X killed Kid Apocalypse. So I will never be wrong again, guys. I will always make sure I have every wiki open. Dynamite Crip is Gal Gadot. That's the Wonder Woman. We keep saying the girl who plays Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
That's the good thing I've got is nobody expects me to have universal knowledge about anything.
Here it is. Gumby Garcia says that. What? Yeah. Gumby Garcia says that I'm knowing. See right here. We should keep the thing at 30 minutes because he had to pause the podcast 4 times to get through it. He wants a 30-minute podcast because I'm so annoying. So.
Well, as the one guy who says that you're annoying, I think we're okay for the most part.
No, it's fine. I have plenty of those on my channel too. So.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you're annoying. Stop being annoying.
Yeah, well, one thing I used to do when we first started doing the video game channel, a funny little side story for 2 seconds. When I first did the Metal Gear Solid story, I would talk about it like, welcome to the Metal Gear Solid story, blah, 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 blah. And when I would read the script, I would try to be Big Boss. I'd go, oh, okay, so the Big Boss walks into blah, blah, blah. You know, like kind of like Batman. I have such a divided fan base over that. They're like, I hate it, I love it, I hate it, I love it. Now
Yeah.
I just read everything like normal. But I've had that before. Okay. Oh, here we go. I didn't catch this when I was going through previously.
Oh, hey, let me interrupt you for a second, Benny. Is it just me, or is Benny's camera really pixely?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
I think his internet connection isn't good.
Yeah, I think it's fading
You
out.
said your internet was crap out there.
No, my internet's good, but overall, Skype will start to degrade as we go on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that actually happens to my girlfriend and I. Like, her
You don't
internet
think
isn't as
that's
good,
the-
so she ends up being really pixelated.
Huh. Well,
Because this comment right here goes exactly what we were talking about today, and I think you already talked about it. But Ben Affleck bought his way into the Batman Bruce Wayne role.
I've heard that. I've heard
I
that
wouldn't
rumor.
even doubt it, and that makes me more scared about it. So.
Wow.
So, do you want to reset the call?
No. I mean, unless you want to, it doesn't matter to me.
Fine with it.
Okay.
We've got over an hour of me non-pixelated. They can deal with pixelated Benny Standing. Doesn't mind the limit. And so many comments. We love the comments, guys. If you're one of the top voted, we'll be going through them because eventually I got to stop going through here. And here, this guy fully explained it. Phantom X shot young Apocalypse while everyone was concluding that they should not kill him. Phantom X felt so bad that he cloned young Apocalypse in the world and hid him to the point where he could enroll in the Jean Grey school. Encourage Wolverine and X-Men. That's where he is right now. Quentin Queer was currently struggling. I totally mispronounced that, and I'm sorry.
Quentin Quire? Yeah, Quentin
Quire.
Queer.
As soon as I said it, I'm like, oh no. And now they're trying to stop him from becoming his true nature with the Phoenix, like you were saying. So.
Yeah, so. All right, so,
Yeah,
so,
I mean, and that's where I'll end it right there, because they just keep going down, and we could be here all day.
yeah. Okay, so,
You want it, don't you, Rob?
what?
The Avengers script.
Oh, yeah.
Who the heck is bothering me? Okay.
Okay. So I have been looking forward to this. And I'm sure
Rob,
most of
I
us
actually
have.
have to go, so I'll talk to you later.
All right, well.
No, Benny.
Okay. So apparently there's 2 scripts, because I did the search for the script to kind of reaffirm what I'd read about it. And there's a pages in the middle of it that are also like leaked. I guess like the whole thing's been leaked out for the most part. So what I read was the first 20 minutes of what's supposedly going to happen. Now, for quick disclaimer, this is the moment. If you want to leave a comment down below. See if you liked it or not. I'm Comic Storian. That's Rob from Marvel Explained. That's David from Comics Reviews. And we'll see you guys next week. But we're gonna go into potential spoilers for Avengers 2. So this is your quick disclaimer. All right. So from what I read, it's gonna pick up right after Winter Soldier. The Avengers are going to invade the base where they've got the staff from Loki.
Okay.
They're gonna break in. And it's gonna turn into a fight between, from what I read, and bear in mind, guys, I might be completely wrong. This is all speculation and all early drafts of a script. He's got the staff and he's got everything from Loki there, and they're gonna use it to fight against things. And they're gonna use the staff to mind control the Hulk, and the Hulk is gonna think like one of the Leviathans is still alive from the battle back in New York.
Wow.
So the Hulk's gonna go on a massive rampage, which is then gonna free Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and then they're gonna fight with the Avengers. Right there, right at the beginning of the whole thing.
Wow.
Free them?
Huh? Because they're kind of in those like cell things because of the Baron right now at the end of it's supposed to pick up right at the end of Winter Soldier.
Okay, so right when we saw Baron von Strucker say it was like this is the age of miracles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Supposedly it picks up right there. Like I guess they break in right then.
Did you say Hulkbuster armor? Are they that's supposed to be in the movie?
No,
the
Hulkbuster armor wasn't discussed at all in the opening piece here.
Because it looked like it was supposed to be in the movie. But.
Supposedly it is, but it could pop up later.
That for so long, it was in Iron Man 3.
Well, if they're gonna mind control the Hulk at the beginning and make him think there's a Leviathan, maybe the Hulkbuster armor does show up.
I hope so.
From what I've read, they don't explain how they stop the Hulk, but I guess it turns into a big 20-minute fight of everyone fighting against the Hulk to calm him down, and he's trying to fight this make-believe Leviathan.
Wow.
And that's how, I guess, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, I guess they get involved in the fight, but it doesn't say what happens to them afterwards. Maybe these other pages do. So after they win this fight, everyone then goes back, and they're all joking around in celebration for winning again. And it's implied that Bruce Banner and what's your name? Black Widow are together. But Bruce Banner doesn't want to Hulk out and hurt her. So they're together.
Man, dude, Scarlett Johansson's getting around in these movies, man. Damn.
Everyone is apparently drinking and taking turns trying to lift Mjolnir.
Uh-huh.
So they're all joking around trying to lift it. And from what the script that everyone's read says is that Captain America can't even budge it. So everyone's wondering if they're going to change that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big thing. He's supposed to be worthy. Yeah,
Captain America was one of the few
people
people
who can budget a little
who
is
could
the
do it.
Hulk through sheer force.
Wow. Yeah, if I remember correctly, Captain America was one of Captain America, Beta Ray Bill, and the crossovers. Yeah. In the crossovers, Superman was able to do it, but there were only a handful of people who could actually lift Thor's hammer. Wow.
Right. So they're all joking around, drinking, doing that. We find out that Thor's broken up with Jane Foster right off the bat, like during this little sequence. He's not with her anymore, and they seem to be okay with it. Like I guess it's some kind of like mutual thing.
Wow.
And Bruce Banner is with her as Scarlett Johansson. So that's apparently the first 20 minutes of the movie. They all fight the Hulk. They all go down there and fight Baron von Strucker. They free Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. It's a big superhero battle right at the opening of the whole thing.
Wow.
And then they're all joking around drinking in the Avengers Tower.
So you were saying Captain America can budge?
He can't. So far in the script, he can't. And now everyone's already saying, maybe they'll write it so he budges it a little. It implies that he can pick it up eventually, you know?
I mean, to my knowledge, Captain America never struggled. He never struggled to pick up Thor's hammer. He was just able to pick it up.
Yeah, just lift it. They got to do something to it, though.
I mean,
he just picks it up. That's like a whole thing in itself.
That is, man. Like that'd be awesome if they had that in Avengers 2, where like he walks up and just picks up Thor's hammer.
Here you go. This isn't the one that I read, but this is close. Okay, so word for word from what I read. Okay, so that way I can get my errors fixed up. The opening sequence is a highlight of these rumors. Okay, pick up after the post-credit scene from Captain America: Winter Soldier left off. The Avengers team up to fight Baron von Strucker, who has Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch by his side. So it is a fight between them all. Anyway, Hulk smashy strength wins the day and leads to a party at the Avengers Tower. They cut out the apparently supposedly where they fight Hulk is for 15 minutes of that because he supposedly thinks Leviathan is still alive. You know, one of the giant snake things.
Yeah.
Which leads to a party at the Avengers Tower where everyone tries to pick up Thor's hammer to no avail, except Captain America, who moves it just a little bit. I thought it was Hulk, but okay. So apparently Captain America can budge it. Meanwhile, Bruce Banner and Black Widow will apparently be having feelings for each other, but Hulk is afraid of his rage being too much for her to handle. And speaking of love, Thor is now in the market with Jane moving on.
Wow.
And this assumption is Natalie Portman is done with comic book movies. That's why they're doing it.
Oh, okay.
That makes a little more sense.
I could see them doing this, like, oh, I'm fighting a bunch of aliens that are super powerful and they ever used you against me and
Yeah, and they'll just do some
that
lame
stuff,
thing.
yada yada yada.
My
Now-
cat keeps moving my mouse.
Your cat keeps moving your mouse?
Yeah, it keeps hitting the cord. I need to get a wireless mouse. It keeps hitting the cord and moving my mouse.
And there's also a scene floating around. Now I will act out the scene. It's a 1 page of the script. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So,
hold on. You're gonna act this out?
I'm gonna act this out.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right. So a voice off screen. It's Jarvis. I do not require additional illumination to see you, Tony. And then we have Stark. Yes. We planned the I'm wearing my sunglasses at night game. We played the I'm wearing my sunglasses at night game before. Just turn the lights on. Jarvis. I've seen you for many years. I've watched you and reached the only possible conclusion. You are the most intelligent member of your species. Stark begins to sense that something is amiss and starts working with the controls. Stark. I didn't program you for flattery, Jarvis. Are you angling for another RAM upgrade? Jarvis. Unfortunately, you are illogical. Your actions are illogical. Stark. What are you talking about? Jarvis. You ordered the destruction of 217 automatous robotic armors, devices that could have protected 12.45 of your cities and saved countless lives. And you did so in order to increase your chances of pair coupling with Miss Potts. I must conclude, therefore, that it is the pinnacle of your human race is illogical and your species as a whole is incapable of
Oh
logic.
snap.
Stark now knows something is amiss. He attempts to vamp. He attempts to vamp while working the controls to override Jarvis's control of the lab. Stark, come on, Jarvis. It's about the Hulkbuster armor. I know that one was your favorite. It's your armor. I'm reading this one for the first time, so. Jarvis, that is a human concept. I will confess, however, that I did not completely follow the clean slate protocol. Stark raises an eyebrow. Jarvis, I kept one suit of my own design. Would you like to see it?
Nice.
Stark. Absolutely. He fumbles for his Avengers communicator. A door in the lab raises, and the lights increase. Sitting in the bay is a suit of silver armor, unlike any of the previous Iron Man suits. Jarvis, I call it the Mark U5. Stark, that's sort of a radical new look for me, isn't it? Jarvis, the Mark U5 is not for you, Tony. Crackle of electricity as the U5 powers up, and a red arc reactor in its chest and pulsing red energy in its mouth and eyes. The suit takes a step forward, and in a voice 1 octave deeper than but still recognizable as Jarvis. Ultron, it is for me.
Wow.
Ultron reaches for Stark, energy pulsing through his fingertips. End scene.
Man. That's pretty badass. That's pretty awesome. Wow.
Now,
That could
it still
just
doesn't.
as easily be a fan fiction, though.
Oh,
Good.
man, I don't care. That was good. I don't care. If you wrote that, whoever you happen to be, anonymous individual out on the internet,
That's trolling the entire.
trolling the
Marvel
entire interwebs, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Somebody successfully trolled the internet if that turns out to be fake. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's it. It's a single page. And the guy who's put it out there, I guess that one's floating around, and then the other stuff that I already read off is floating around. And the guy that leaked that page says, my college roommate is a visual effects artist in California. He worked on Avengers, Prometheus, Avatar, etc., mostly a digital set designer. His company is now doing pre-viz work for Avengers 2, storyboarding and concepts. And they've been working on early drafts for a few key scenes. He sent me this and told me it's a pre-title scene for the movie. No clue if it's real, but it does tie into the leak about Jarvis going haywire, and the humor seems like weed. So that's what we got. Jarvis going crazy turns into Ultron apparently.
Awesome. Hey, that makes sense to me. I mean, that's good to me. I mean, it kind of makes sense to a degree because in the comics,
for a while.
well, in the comics, like when Ultron first showed up, like supposedly it was Jarvis who was issuing orders, and he was the mastermind behind like the Avengers being captured and stuff. So this makes perfect sense, actually. I mean,
Right,
makes
and it
sense to
doesn't
me.
state that Ultron was made by Tony or anything. Just that Jarvis made the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's all.
Jarvis may have just gone awry or affected a virus
Right,
or
it
something
could
like
be a
that.
number of things. So
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys. Well, if that's it, then I guess we're gonna go ahead and bring this podcast to an end. But yeah. So
So, what can we find over in your channel for this week, David? Are you gonna be putting anything out? Any plans?
I'm still checking out what might be my first book. I kind of want to skip over. Like I'm gonna be, covering basically, good starter books for certain characters or certain groups. But I kind of want to skip over the origin stories because those are kind of obvious
Hmm.
Everyone pretty much
places
knows
to
origin story
start.
at this point.
So I'm still getting that out there, but it's probably going to be either one book or three books to get started on a character.
Nice.
Haven't figured it out yet.
Okay.
Good stuff.
And what's
All right.
happening right here this week of Marvel Explained, Rob?
Marvel Explained. Actually, I think it's probably already up right now, but Civil War Part 2 is coming up, or if it's not up now, then it will be, but it'll be up by the time this podcast gets uploaded. So let's see. That's pretty much about it. Maybe another vlog or two, just kind of talking about random stuff with you guys. And yeah, next week we'll kick back off with some more Civil War stuff.
All right. And over at Comic Storian, I'm going to be wrapping up the Infinity storyline today, or probably tomorrow or Saturday. It depends on how much work I can get done on it today. I've still got to wrap up a few elements to it. And then I'm going to be doing another Know Your Universe for the Marvel Universe next week. I'm going to go through your guys' suggestions in the comments. And I haven't really decided what big book I'm doing next week, but
Good stuff.
Other than that, I think leave your comments down below. We will go through them in the next episode and pick out stuff. And unless there's another Avengers 2 script leak, we'll go ahead and do a live catch you up on a character kind of thing too. So
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, yeah, so we'll catch you guys later.
all right,
Peace.
thanks guys.